since the shortfall is very large and since the requirement for modernization is also extensive amongst the three armed forces, there is a need to find innovative measures. And the first such innovative measure would be restructuring the armed forces itself. If we look at China, they have restructured to 2.3 million and they are continuing to do it so as to reduce the revenue budget. If you look at our current budget, 66% is towards the revenue and it is continuing to increase. The component percentage is continuing to increase. How do we reduce that? We can only reduce that by restructuring armed forces, reducing, making them leaner, meaner and more effective. And the second and important aspect is the privatization of the central public sector enterprises such as the BML and the other big ones. We need to go ahead, privatize them, generate the resources that would come up, increase the share of public holding in those that we do not want the control to go away. But again, that would help in generating the resources. The third is defense estates sits on large amount of prime land which could be released. It is 1.73 million acres. This itself would release significantly large amount of funds if it is taken into account. Last is we need to increase the indigenization component of our aircraft, weapon systems and equipment. If that can be done, and that can only be done if we make our DRDO agencies, defense research agencies more accountable and more responsible. For that, a 6-monthly audit of their outcomes needs to be carried out.
There has to be a restructuring of our armed forces. We know the requirement of our armed forces because they are extensively deployed for counterinsurgency operations where the boots on the ground are very important. Yet, I think the overall size of the military has expanded far beyond what we can really field very effectively. The shrinking of the level of armed forces is very much required so that the revenue budget comes within the limits and then the adequate apportioning can be done for the capital budget. So I think this is one thing which we have to look at. The second thing which we have to look at is the reprioritization by the armed forces. The armed forces have to carry out a very detailed exercise where they reprioritize the resources which are available and then go on for the priority A items which are critical to fight a war today and tomorrow. The priority B items should be the items which are required to make up the deficiencies which are already existing, and then priority C items will be the items which are required for making up the long-term capability building, and proper match has to be made between these and the reprioritization has been done. The third aspect which we have to do is that the finance ministry, which has been very reluctant to provide project-based budgeting for capital acquisitions. The finance ministry has to be convinced on this aspect so that a project-based budgeting can be provided, which gives a high degree of assurance to the providers that yes, we will get our required budget. Just to explain this point, for example, we have gone for the deal for the 36 Rafale. Now, if the finance ministry makes an assured commitment of budget for this 36 Rafale, which has been made with France, there will be a high degree of assurance that these Rafales will come well in time. And the final aspect is, of course, indigenization. There is no doubt, because we have about 60 to 70% of our acquisitions come by import. They are very expensive, very costly. The price keeps fluctuating because of the exchange rate variation, etc. Indigenization is something which we have to focus on.